Inflation Vacation is back on the Fan. We have 9 chances for you to win $1,000 every weekday. That's every hour from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. To enter keywords and to learn more, head over to KFAN.com. Inflation Vacation powered by 2 Men in a Truck.
This is there's a Bigfoot sighting in Minneapolis. Leader, the Fan, and KFAN.com. Welcome back shortly after 11 o'clock. Paul Allen, Nardo by my side. Mike Florio from ProFootballTalk.com about a half hour from now. And joining us now is Jim Peterson, who calls basketball with Grady on a Bally Sports North. Also played many years in the NBA. Some of his more descript years would be with the Houston Rockets, where he was the third tower of 3 towers playing in the NBA Finals against the Boston Celtics, and he joins us now. Was that your rookie year or your second year?
Second year.
Second year.
You know, I would say coaching the Minnesota Lynx was also part of my resume. It's one of the favorite parts of my resume, actually.
Yeah, I wasn't done.
Okay.
I was getting.
There's other stuff. There is other stuff.
I wasn't going to put that in. But no, you coached there a long time.
8 years. And you know, here's one thing I say.
You watch all the games still?
This is why I have so much love for UPA, because
I got love for you too.
I know that the WNBA has become way more popular since Caitlin Clark's been involved in these last couple of years. But you were in on that at the very beginning. In 2011, when I was coaching and we went to the WNBA Finals in 2011, you always had me on your show, and we weren't talking about Wolves. We were talking about Lynx. You were up on it.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, I said, between you and Maxie, Mike Max was also at Lynx practice a ton when I was coaching. So I just, you were there at the beginning, and somebody can't tell me otherwise, man. Seriously.
Yeah, but that's very kind. But I'm going. This is Fairness and Honesty Act. I fell off. And it's like the morphing of me, a basketball guy. I mean, I'm the first person you've ever met, I'm going to guess, who made a Granville Waiters reference to you from your days with the Houston Rockets. Nobody knows who Granville. I watched Jordan McLaughlin roll out there. I think he's like Granville Waiters mini because of his hairline. Not many people know that. I've watched and followed and been to NBA games for so many years, and I love it so much.
You went to the Cap Center.
That's right, the Capitol Center to see Elvin Hayes and Wes Unseld play World Be Free, Caldwell Jones, Daryl Dawkins, when you could call him Chocolate Thunder without getting canceled on social media, and Dr. J. So that's what's most deeply rooted in my heart. So then the Wild then become part of KFAN. All right, well, I'm learning more about hockey. I'm doing Vox in the Box. Called a couple of games. I called a couple of hockey games.
I did not know that.
Never done that in my life. Called a couple at the greatest time in the world. So it's the chameleon nature of yours truly is something that I admit I have. And we're certainly not trying to one-up anybody, but like I'm the one with the WNBA this year where you're right. When you were on the staff, and we talk about it a lot, I watched a lot, got to know Lindsay Whalen extremely well. Well, that really pulled me in. Okay, well, then I drifted. Well, I'm the one that jumps on the radio and says, yeah, I'm the lemon. Okay, I watched Caitlin play 4 NCAA tournament games. I got so bit by that thing, I'm now watching Ion on Friday night. I'm now watching Seattle at home with a 10-game winning streak against Las Vegas and Asia Wilson.
Sure.
I'm watching. I mean, I watched almost every Fever game. I watched almost every Lynx game. Whenever it didn't conflict with Canterbury.
Nafisa Collier deserves to be
Love
viewed.
her.
I mean, she's just one of the most unbelievable talents, and she's closing in on, for me, she's getting up there on my level the way that she's playing the game right now. So she's.
What do you mean?
She's
on your
really
level?
special. I mean, Maya Moore level.
Oh, Maya.
Maya Moore. Because Maya's going into the Hall of Fame, and we just retired Maya's jersey this summer. It was a great ceremony. But Nafisa She's so fun to watch, and she just won Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, she's chill.
So as great as she is offensively, she just was voted the best defender in the league. So she's a two-way player.
Well, I don't know if you watched last night, but I had a charity dinner with Finchy for Second Harvest Heartland at FEMA's right down the road. First time I've been there. David FEMA, go crazy. He does an unbelievable job with that Moroccan food. Yeah. Yes. So I got home for the second half, and I rushed home. I was excited because I'm bit by this. This is real. But I'm the one that says, yes, because of her and the excitement I saw, I got bit, and I'm in. And so then it's just so strange where, like, at times I would spend part of the season being like, well, shouldn't all of you not care why I'm in or why people are in and not complain about it or be like, where you been? First person who says to me, this has been a physical dynamite sport for the last decade and a half. Where have you been? Well, that's how you lose people, okay? Because it should. This is a losing league. This league loses money, and it doesn't lose money anymore. It ain't printing it, but it doesn't lose anymore.
Right.
So the WNBA, and Cheryl Reeve and I had, and you know her better than I'll ever know her. Cheryl heard me say something on the radio with Lindsay Whalen last week, and we had the greatest 25-minute phone conversation I've ever had with a head coach in my life about myriad things. And we left it completely respecting each other because we've always respected each other.
Sure.
But I stood my ground on a couple of things with the metamorphosis of the WNBA. And what handling prosperity on a global level is like, in my opinion. Okay, so
the good and the bad, by the way. There's all kinds of complexities
100%.
that come with when you start growing the game like they're growing it now.
100%.
In terms of even how you're covered, because sometimes things aren't always going to be positive, and I think sometimes Cheryl, she would get a little bit upset about how sometimes things were covered, and I say you can't pick and choose. I mean, if your game is going to become a global game, like you're saying, you're going to have people come at you in different ways that you don't necessarily like.
Well, the numbers are the numbers, and when the girl plays, everybody watches. So that's fact. Okay, so build off that as a community, as opposed to looking at it as an adversarial. Okay, well, there was Lisa Leslie, and there was us at Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi and Lindsay, all these names. Great. Everybody watches when she plays. And when everybody watches her play, they're going to see others like me, like Ionescu for the Liberty, like Asia Wilson. I heard her name, never took time to watch her. She's unbelievable.
Unreal, yeah.
Alyssa Thomas for Connecticut is unbelievable. She's a dog, man. I really enjoy Carrington. I mean, she's cool, too. So I got bit by it because of that, and I'm in, and let's go to the Timberwolves.
Yeah.
You are one of, you're one of our guests who can talk about the bid, even though the trade has yet to be declared official. Julius Randle, your thoughts on his overall game and what you like about him?
Well, I guess I'm more of a Julius Randle fan than a lot of people. It's like, people are talking about the deficiencies of Julius Randle, but I look at the physicality of his game and the fact that he's been an all-star 3 out of the last 4 years. He's also a 2-time All-NBA player, so he's got quite the resume that he's built. He played at Kentucky the year before Cat played at Kentucky, so they leave now at 19 in college. So, and Julius Randle is just one of those plug-and-play Kentucky kids. And, there's so many of them in the league, PA. I mean, you were talking to Nikhil earlier. His cousin Shea is a pretty good Kentucky plug-and-play guy, has a chance to be MVP in the league right now. But Cal just does a great job of getting these guys game ready. And so Julius Randle came in with the Lakers. He was trying to find his level. He really found himself in New York, and so he's got top 20 talent kind of, he's that kind of player. Like, there are times during the season where you're going to see this guy and you're going to go, holy cow, he reminds me of LeBron James. Like, this guy is so physical, so dynamic. And so, people say he's a, one-on-one player, but I look at that as a good thing. You know what I mean? I look at him being an ISO scorer. Like, you need ISO scores. Anthony Edwards is one of the best in the league, but Julius Randle, I mean, from his position, he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be able to get you a bucket when things dry up. Yeah. So, he's going to. So he's going to be fantastic. Defensively, he's got work to do, but I think that when you're playing alongside Rudy Gobert and all the other guys that we have on our team, there's a level of expectation that players and coaches have when you have a team like this. And so when you're new into it, there's a certain level that you have to fall into line a little bit and do a little bit more and do a little bit better. Yeah. So his compete level is going to get at a higher level. I just am really curious to see how it's all going to work out.
I've always been a fan, like yours.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into because I've read it and heard it a million times. Nick's got the best player. Okay, got the best player of the three with DiVincenzo. All right. I mean, yeah, I understand. I understand what people are saying there. All right. So, but what goes into best player? What goes into best player are the players with whom you're playing, how you complement and or amplify them. And, a lot of people saying what they're saying about Nick's got the best player. Yes, okay, Karl Anthony Towns, one of the great three-point shooters for big men in the history of the game, can rebound, never has been a huge shot blocker, passing's good, Julius's is better, and so on. So I understand the narrative that people are developing. But I don't think a lot of those people have watched Julius Randle play and have watched Julius Randle down on the block get mad and be unstoppable. Timberwolves fans should remember when he went for like 57 or 59. Those Wildcats, when they go against each other, it's a different beast. I mean, I watched Anthony Davis, obliterate Karl Anthony Towns 3, 4, 5, 6 times in a row, young in their careers,
sure.
And then it evened out. I've seen it with Julius Randle. They take things personally against certain cats, and you get their best. We've gotten the best of Julius Randle almost every single time he's played. So I'm a fan of the trade. I absolutely believe the team is better. Dante DiVincenzo, I watched him against Indiana in the playoffs, and he had a 30-some-odd point game, scored like 22 a game. Really ignited late last year with Jalen Brunson in that group. What do you like about him?
Basketball IQ. Jay Wright, you talk about Coach Cal, what he does at Kentucky. I think Jay Wright, what he's done at Villanova, he's proven that he knows what the ingredient is, too, and in terms of all the things that he expects his players to do. So, one of the things that Dante has is he's just got a well-developed offensive game. He knows who he is. He's played on championship-level teams. He won a championship with the Golden State Warriors. So I like that he knows how to, obviously can make three-point shots. Made a ton of them last year, over 280 three-point shots last year.
That blows me away.
I mean, he just was one of the best in the league. And so just covering him and watching him, the way that he's able to play off 2 feet in the paint and the way he plays strong, so he can attack the basket. He can shoot from the perimeter. He's a high basketball IQ guy. He's a combo guard. He can run offense and initiate offense for you too if you want him to. So, he's not a point guard, but he can do it. I just like versatility, and then that defensive versatility too. The fact that he's, I think that what coaches love about players like Dante DiVincenzo the most, PA, is they like the compete level, because that's one of the things that they really are looking for in players at all levels and all sports. They're looking for guys that are willing to compete, because not everybody is willing to compete. Not everybody's out there willing to put the work in and then compete at a high level where it's between me and you. Who's going to win? And so I think that's one of the things you're going to love about Dante DiVincenzo.
Well said.
With Dante he started the season, I think, high teens minutes. Then the entire Knicks roster gets hurt throughout the season.
Yeah.
It felt like the experience that he got, maybe a guy that wants to elevate his game, right? By the end of the season, he's playing 40 minutes and he's throwing down 39 in a playoff game. That versatility in terms of Finch's ability to use him now with the Wolves, certainly a little bit different spot. But what do you think that he brings in terms of, is he always going to be on the wing? Is he going to be a guy that could potentially back up or take some miles off the tread of Mike Conley? I'm still trying to envision how they use him, given how he ended the season. You couldn't take him off the court.
Yeah, he became so invaluable. I think that when you come onto a team that's this talented, he had that experience when he went to Golden State, so I think he's kind of bounced around enough to know that he's got to fit in to what the team needs. And so, if Mike Conley were to get hurt, you need some backup minutes, and I think that's where he kind of solidifies that for you. He's not quite the J-Mac sort of personality in terms of that's his key role, is to be the backup point guard number one. But, between Nikhil and between Ant and, they've got a number of guys that can give those backup minutes. But I think Dante does have the versatility to be able to do what you need him to do.
This is probably a super dumb question. Is this potentially as deep as the Wolves as a franchise have been when you just go from top to bottom? Guys like DiVincenzo now coming off the bench. What you're going to do with Naz Reid on a game-by-game basis, as good as he's been. There's a lot of faith going forward, I think, in Naz Reid with this move that's been made. Is this as deep as this franchise has ever been?
I mean, you got to go 02, 03, 04. You got Peeler off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, even that
Trent.
team in 03-04 wasn't as deep as this team. Like,
right.
You know, this team is just incredibly deep. And I've been saying this for the last 3 years, or ever since, you know, that Chris Finch has been here. It seems like we've had incredible depth. We've been able to play 10, 11 guys. It was a problem that Finchy had last year. How do you get everybody on the court that need to play? So, you know, everybody wanted J-Mac to play. I remember how J-Mac is such a fan favorite, and everybody wanted, and he had a hard time getting on the court. So it's really impossible to play 10 guys consistently, much less 11.
Yeah.
But this is an incredibly deep team, and you know, even talking about someone like Josh Minot.
Yeah.
And Keita Bates-Diop. I mean, we know Keita's game, and Keita's done a nice job kind of staying in the league and reinventing himself. And
San Antonio most recently.
Yes, exactly. But they talk about Josh Minot, the summer that he's had, and this is one thing that the culture that's been developed here, Nordo, is that they've been able to get guys to stay here in the summertime, which, you know, this is my 27th year broadcasting games, and that has not always been the case.
Wow.
The practice facility has been empty a lot in the summertime for a lot of years, and it's been the culture that they've been able to develop here between all of the player development coaches who are so fantastic with this team, and the job that Chris Finch has done to build this culture along with Tim Connolly now. I just think that this team, they are so together. They're so united because all these guys stay here now in the summertime and work on their games. So, even someone like Naz Reid. Naz won Sixth Man of the Year for a reason. He put the work in. He put the work in here in this facility, not in L.A. or New York or wherever in the summertime. So, credit to this coaching staff, big time.
Off what Nordo said. All right, now we have last year Edwards in that group. But let's go back to that magical 03. Or whatever the Western Conference Finals was. Cassell had the back. Kareem Rush hit the 6 3-pointers after the series against Sacramento where Weber's last shot. It's like rolling around the rim for an hour. If it goes in, we're tied, go to overtime. But remember, so was that 02 or 03?
04.
That was 04.
04, like I said,
that was
04.
Western Conference Finals. Yeah.
Okay, well, what was the common thread here?
Semifinal, I should say.
The MB3. Garnett, inherently tough. Anthony Edwards, inherently tough. Latrell Sprewell, Sam Cassell, dogs, as the kids would say, super tough-minded guys. And now Julius Randle, tough-minded guy. DiVincenzo, tough-minded guy. With the two they added, I'm not saying it's an MB3 because I don't want to disrespect Mike Conley or Rudy Gobert like that. They're absolutely part of it. But you see what I'm getting at here. You add that toughness, and then that fortitude and tenacity, mentally especially. And you would know, you went to the NBA Finals. That's what helps elevate you, right?
Well, look, I think that, you know, one of the things that they've got here now is like, you know, I'm just bringing up the Utah Jazz for a second, just because Mike and Rudy and Joe Ingles and even Nikhil was in Utah with Mike and Rudy as well. So, those guys went through a lot of battles in the Western Conference, Mike and Rudy especially, and Joe with him too. So the three of them know, and especially, and Mike did this last year. I don't know if you remember the moment when they were coming towards playoff time, and Mike Conley at the beginning of the Phoenix series basically said, "Hey, you guys, I need you to do this for me because I don't have a lot of time left." He goes, you guys have a lot more runs at this. He goes, but I'm coming down to the end here. I said, do this for me. And so you only get so many bites of the apple, and Rudy and Mike and Joe, especially those three guys, they really know. They've been through all those battles in Utah. They had a lot of crushing defeats. They really know what it takes to be great. And so I think that plays a part too, PA, because they've been through those things, and they know that time is very fleeting. As we know, we've been doing this for a long time. As long as I've been with the Wolves, you've been doing this thing for KFAN. You and I have been doing this for a long time together.
AM 1130 KFAN. Chad Hartman, lead vocalist. Colin Woods, Felipe Lopez. The prayer is answered from, I think, Washington. Shoot, I remember when Craig Kilborn called a game at Washington against the Wolves. Lastly, and love you and can't wait to have you on during the regular season. This is just phenomenal being here, man. What was your last year in the NBA?
1992, the year that the Golden State Warriors lost to the Seattle Supersonics, and when Sean Kemp dunked on Elton Lister. Do you remember the hook dunk on Elton Lister?
Oh, yeah.
He pointed at him.
Yeah,
that was my last series.
Well, I think the next year might have been Joe Ingles first. I mean, he's out there. He's signed, sealed, and delivered, so we can actually talk about him. He's 37 years of age, and I mean, we watch a lot, man. So I watch Joe with Utah, Joe wherever he's been of late. He's still twitchy. He's still twitchy off the dribble at 37. Now, I think FIJA, Fairness and Joe Ingles Act. I think it is fair to mention that, old guys don't necessarily want the contact at the basket anymore. So twitchy Joe off the dribble doesn't necessarily go to the basket as much anymore, but his passing is still high end. He plays a lot of positions.
I've just watched him drain 4 from about 26 feet, so
Make
I'm
it
liking
5.
that.
Make it 5. Joe, just having Joe Ingles is cool, man. I just think it's cool, don't you?
Yeah, I've been a big fan of his for a long time. My son Sanjay is with the Atlanta Hawks now with Quinn Snyder, but Sanjay was in Utah for 3 years. And he was there with Rudy, with Mike, with Joe, and with Nikhil.
Yeah.
And so Joe Ingles was one of Sanjay's favorite guys. And so you were talking to Alan Horton before I came on.
Yeah.
You were thanking Alan for being kind to your son. Well, Joe and Sanjay, like when Sanjay first started coaching in Utah, Joe took him under his wing, and Joe was one of those guys that, when these video coordinators, they don't make a lot of money, and so these players, they would give Sanjay their per diem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, for a road trip.
I've seen it a million times.
I mean, it's like the
clubbies,
so
the
so
equipment
so
people,
I see Joe on media day back in the hallway by the locker room. And he came up to me. He gave me a big hug. Ever since Sanjay has been with the Utah Jazz, and even before that, I mean, Benz and I used to chat Joe Ingles up because he's hilarious, right? We talk. His wife, if you ever get him on, his wife is a professional netball player.
Wow.
You know what netball is?
No idea.
It's like an Australian basketball game, but there's no backboard.
Oh.
It's just a shoot and you've got to shoot the ball into this net.
Jeez.
But his wife was a pro at it.
Yeah.
And so we just started chatting Joe up like 10 years ago or something.
Brisbane go crazy.
I know. So
Adelaide go crazy.
Exactly. so this Joe Ingles guy is just a phenomenal get. And you lose slow-mo.
Yeah.
You bring in another slow-mo. But what Joe Ingles can do is he can shoot the basketball. So he's going to be able to do that in spades.
God bless you, man.
Love you, man.
We haven't even talked about your horse, El Encanto.
I know.
Co-owned by Barry Butzo,
Barry
one of my
Butzo
great
and
friends.
Joni. Those two are fantastic.
Yeah.
Shout out to those two, man. The most phenomenal human beings. Great Lynx fans, by the way. Courtside for Lynx games.
I know.
Just great people.
You and Tika. God bless you, brother. I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Jim Peterson into the football portion of the equation. We do have one football segment today for your undefeated Vikings. It's Mike Florio from ProFootballTalk.com. He's next.
Before we go, the Fan and Two Men and a Chuck want to give you a shot. Put $1,000 in your hand at the National Cash Contest at KFAN.com. Enter keyword win. Keyword is win. KFAN.com. Keyword win. To laugh the night away when comedian Russell Peters heads to Treasure Island. Don't miss the hilarious and unapologetic comic when he takes the stage at the Island Event Center November 29th. Tickets on sale now. TICasino.com. That's TICasino.com.
Here comes Mike Florio from PFT. Yeah, you know we, ProFootballTalk.com, NBC's Football Night in America. And Mike Florio also is an author. And the most recent book is called Son of Mine. You can learn more about it at ProFootballTalk.com. And here he is. Michael, Paul Allen, good morning.
Good morning. Good afternoon. Have you ever done the math on how much airtime you've avoided by milking the hell out of the music bed to start a segment? I mean,
yes.
I thought that funky, jazzy groove that reminded me sort of the jazz version of the Fox theme song that they play to break when a guy's injured. I was thinking of that, like, do you actually, you're like Johnny Carson, do you end up working 3 shows a week because of how long you wait to talk on the way back in from break? And good morning.
And good morning. The answer is no. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Have you ever considered how much time you've wasted on radio shows over the course of decades talking about the elongated nature of bumper music playing and how many questions or book promotions could have taken place but did not because of the bit you start with?
The difference is my bits are compelling. That music,
Amen.
all due respect to
Amen.
those who
Amen.
composed it and performed it, that
Yeah.
music is not compelling.
No doubt. Just like this morning when I was on PFT Live, Peacock Go Crazy, and you were pushing me on the 2016 Vikings, trying to get me to rip somebody when I mentioned Norv Turner quit during that year. Yeah, those are super compelling bits. I'm not going to argue.
I still don't know why he quit. I still don't know the name of the person. You would refuse to give me the name of the person that caused Norv Turner to throw his hands in the air in exasperation and storm out. I don't know. I guess it was Rick Spielman because he's got that kind of personality that caused someone to storm out of the building without warning and never come back.
Yeah, you can guess all you like. I'm never going to share company secrets, and that's why I get to watch practice when other people don't, because it helps me call the games, and I don't share secrets. So that's the end of that equation.
Okay.
Right. Now, with Mike Florio, the Vikings in the 4-0 start, your thoughts on that whole thing?
I'm surprised. I'm stunned. I never would have expected it. The last 2 unbeaten teams, Kansas City and Minnesota, wouldn't be great if 55 years after the Vikings and the Chiefs got together for a little 65 toss power trap in New Orleans. They go back to New Orleans. Wouldn't that be something?
Oh,
Long way to go for both teams. Long way to go. Long way to go. And as a team that's 0-4 in the Super Bowl, I don't think you want trip number 5 to come against Patrick Mahomes in his heyday, but I don't know, maybe you do. Maybe this is the year he can be had because he doesn't have the help around him that he's had in the past, and they're not dominant. The Vikings have been dominant. And the thing that I am most impressed by, Paul, I mentioned this to you earlier today, in both the San Francisco game and the Green Bay game, the momentum swung to the superior team on paper that had an opportunity to erase a significant deficit, a multi-score deficit. And once the pendulum swung, Sam Darnold and the offense settled down and put together a scoring drive that made a 1-score game a 2-score game, and it felt like the dagger. I know against the Packers there were still more iterations and hoops to jump through, but to calm it down when it feels like you're in the middle of that 18-2 run that you'll see in a basketball game where it's just inevitable, to do that, I think, is impressive. And to me, that's more important than any numbers Sam Darnold has put up. Calming the offense down, and getting a score when it feels like the walls are crumbling in, that's an ingredient you need if you're going to be a successful team in the postseason.
I love how you put that. And to amplify it, finding Jefferson. So, like, Jefferson gets certain coverage, as you know, and then, you don't see him for quarter and a half. He's getting doubled and tripled. Discretion being the better form of valor. But off what you said, to calm the game, and Jefferson being part of it, like when he had 43, 48 yards on that scoring drive, that's part of it too, is knowing where your bread is buttered and how to get to it. And O'Connell and Darnold have been really good at that. Let me ask you this. What do you think of Jordan Love? Just overall Jordan Love.
Well, I think Jordan Love is a great quarterback, but I think there needs to be a grown-up in the room who can go to him and say, look, we know you want to come back and play. We know that Malik Willis has done well, but you don't have to worry about a Justin Fields situation here. We're not going to play games with you. We paid you $55 million a year. just a few weeks ago to be our guy. When you're ready, you're our guy. Let's give it another week. I know it's the Vikings. I know they're unbeaten. I know, but you're not ready. And Jason Garrett, the former Cowboys coach who was on PFT Live this morning after you, one of the points he made this past weekend was one of his great regrets as a coach is giving in to a guy who was insistent that he was ready to go. They're not the best judges. The player who's in that spot, whether it's Russell Wilson, Jordan Love, Tua Tagovailoa, someone else has to make that decision because the player's bias is always going to be, get me on the field. And I think someone should have stood up to Jordan Love and said, not this week. Let's come back next week.
What are the Minnesota Vikings getting in the Jets Sunday at Tottenham Hotspur?
Well, they're getting a team that's very inconsistent, and they better win a game that they shouldn't the next 3 weeks. So they're going to be 2-5. They've got Vikings, Bills, Steelers the next 3 weeks. And all three of those games are in standalone spots, one early morning, one Sunday night, one Monday night. I'm getting them out of order, though. They have Monday night with the Bills and then Sunday night in Pittsburgh. They just have to have greater consistency. Aaron Rodgers can't be on this roller coaster of he looks like MVP Aaron Rodgers one week and he looks like, he's 40 years old and not as good as he used to be the next week. So they've got to get that figured out. And I'm sure the Vikings hope they don't figure it out this weekend. There was some comments yesterday from Garrett Wilson, who should be getting the ball a lot more than he is. Alan Lazard's had a rebirth. I go back to this weird, the guys who are in the Aaron Rodgers clique. And Alan Lazard's in the clique and Garrett Wilson isn't. And does Rodgers skew his attention toward the guys who are in the Rodgers clique, all the folks who know how to tiptoe around the delicate genius, say all the right things, do all the right things, don't say the wrong thing, don't do the wrong thing, don't end up on the island. If you've read the Ian O'Connor book about Aaron Rodgers, the island is a real place where family members, friends, anyone who has wronged him goes. It really is an amazing mindset into a super sensitive personality. But, Wilson isn't getting the ball as much as he should. And Wilson popped off yesterday with some stuff that Aaron Rodgers heard, and you just wonder how that complicates this effort by the Jets to string wins together. For as excited as Jets fans were after the dismantling of the Patriots 2 Thursdays ago, they accepted that losing to the Broncos at home, even in the rain, excuses, whatever, it's just nothing's any different. And they need to get past that, and they need to get off of the back and forth, win one, lose one, win two, lose two. They got to get off of that, and they have to start winning if they're going to be contenders.
Last one. Why is Pro Football Talk, the TV show, so popular in England? And the reason I bring it up like that is 2 years ago when we were at Tottenham Hotspur and we stayed in the London area, it's people brought it up to me, the weekly interview you will do 9 to noon, and obviously the time's different and stuff, but man, PFT super popular in England. How'd that happen?
Well, what happened was Comcast bought Sky, and Sky needs programming that is NFL related, and there isn't a lot that they make on their own, so they've got access to a show that used to be on NBCSN until NBCSN went out of business because everything was being pushed towards streaming, and then Peacock has PFT Live, so they just take it and they show it, and there are fans there. Think of it this way. You're a rabid NFL fan, and you are in a desert. There's no coverage. You can't find anything, and everywhere you turn, it's some other sport that you're not as interested in. You gravitate toward that oasis that pops up, that gives you some of what you want. And so for the very zealous, ardent, over-the-top NFL fans in London, it's a small minority, but it's a loud minority, and they flock to PFT Live. I think we're on 6 o'clock local time as a tape delay or whatever they would call it now. And, I hear from people in London all the time. The ones we hear from are more passionate and devoted and loyal than the American fans we hear from. It really is an amazing dynamic. And this all came up because I told you when you're prowling around London, whenever you get there and however long you're going to be there, people will recognize you simply because you were on PFT Live on Wednesday, and they saw you and they enjoyed your segment, all the inside baseball talk about play-by-play announcers getting screwed by the man. That was good stuff. That was very compelling. The producer was thrilled that we went down that rabbit hole, and I'm not saying that sarcastically. It was just a different type of conversation. We could talk about what the Vikings are doing any day to get some of the behind-the-scenes, how play-by-play announcers stay in touch and whatnot. That was good stuff. That was A+ stuff.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Bless you, my man. Have a good day, all right?
All right, see you.
Mike Florio, PFT. Put a wrap on the show after this. Well, I mean, it's
Cloud9.
What a great day this has been out here, and we're going to close by telling you we're watching Anthony Edwards shoot three-pointers. On the second day of training camp, he's yelling at himself and getting mad when he misses 2 in a row. All right?
Full sweat. He's been out there for 15 minutes. He's on it right now.
I mean, what goes into greatness is undefined. But we're watching it right now, right in front of us with Anthony Edwards. Great job today. Appreciate you.
Cheers.
Aaron Freeman with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Thank you very much. And from Chris Finch through Jim Peterson, it's been an awesome journey. Thank you very much for listening to 9 to noon on KFAN. Thank you, Double B.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.